Yeah, so Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, or whatever you want to translate it as, the night of power, the night of destiny, even the night of constriction. Because Qadr means to restrict something. وَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقُهُ. Okay, whoever his provision is restricted on him. Because the idea of destiny is that what's been destined, it restricts you in a certain extent. How so? Because before you were born, there was an infinite amount of variables you could have been, isn't there? Okay, you could have had blue hair, blue hair. You could have had blue eyes, blonde hair. You could have been born in Derby, okay, working class lass. You know, there's a number of possibilities and infinite variables that Allah could have created you to be. But the moment you're created, you become restricted to what those features. Does that make sense? Okay? And so destiny is about restriction in terms of Allah determines something for you. The irony in Islamic belief is that destiny actually, even though destiny does restrict you in terms of something's been destined for you, we don't know what that is. And so it is very actually, from an Islamic perspective, we see destiny as very, what's the word? It's escaped me. Not fulfilling, it's like it opens up options for us. Because imagine if you go to a clairvoyant and they say, you're going to meet a dark stranger, you know, at such and such a time in such and such a place. That even limits you even more if you know your future, doesn't it? And what happens if people psychologically, when they learn about their future, they actually subconsciously work to that happen, so that actually occurs. And so the fact that we don't know Allah's hidden from us the future, it actually opens up the options even more and makes us feel like we can achieve anything because we've got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind us. Unfortunately, in the Muslim community, we use a lot of our belief in destiny to limit ourselves. We say, Jello, what can I do? It's in my qismat. You know, I'm married to the scumbag. You know, they say, I suppose Allah sent him in my life. He slaps me up and you know, it's silly. And this is my qismat in life. And this is not the attitude of qismat in the Islamic faith. It's about stepping forward and putting your trust in Allah because Allah's destined. What's going to happen is going to come. And so, but that should actually give you purpose because you don't know what's going to come. And I always remember there was an old movie. Did anyone watch it? The Last Samurai. And there was Tom Cruise. And there's that last scene at the end when they've got the American cannons pointing at them. And he asks him, do you believe in destiny? He says, I'm going to run towards it to find out or something. And that is the Islamic understanding, is that you just go with what, because you never know what Allah's going to open up for you. And it's going to happen whatever, but not in a limiting way, in an actual way that is going to enrich you. Does that make sense? And so the Laylatul Qadr is opportunity. What happens on Laylatul Qadr? Now, the scholars try to combine between these narrations about the 15th of Sha'ban and Laylatul Qadr. What they say is, conjoining these, they say it's revealed either on the Lawh al-Mahfuz is either affirmed. What Allah writes on the preserved tablet is affirmed on the 15th of Sha'ban, and on Laylatul Qadr, it actually starts being carried out. So what's the angels, it's revealed to the angels their tasks that they're going to carry out on the 15th of Sha'ban, and then from the night of Laylatul Qadr they start enacting it, carrying out everything in the night. So that's how they explain between these narrations that seem like on Sha'ban things are destined as well for that year. And so that's why we make dua on the 15th of Sha'ban the night, and on Laylatul Qadr as well, in the hope that that time, you know, when before the angel enacts that, Allah may change what that task has been given. So that angel says, right, take his life. Right, here we go, on this such and day he's going to take his life. He's just about to take his life, and then it's revealed to the angel, hang on a minute, he's made a dua, and it's been changed for him. Whatever was decreed, that angel was decreed, it's changed. To show, in the knowledge of Allah, it never changes. Okay, the knowledge of Allah is infinite, but it's an expression to show that we have got a bit. We're not succumbed to the forces of nature. We do have some sort of autonomy, and we have an ability. Dua can change qadr, destiny, in terms of what the knowledge of the angels, or what's affirmed in the preserved tablet. And so, the Laylatul Qadr, it's a sense that the angels are coming down on that night and greeting the worshippers and celebrating with the worshippers, and that's why some call it the night of constriction, because there's so many angels that the earth is constricted with their numbers. Okay, but also it's a night of power of what you can achieve on that night, because your du'as can change fate from that perspective on what's in the Lawh al-Mahfuz or what's being put in the hand of the angels, depending on the interpretation. And also it's the night of so it's constriction, power, and of destiny. Does that make sense? So it's now with this Nisf of Sha'ban, we know what that night is, but Laylatul Qadr, we don't know when that night is. What's the traditional position is that it's when Laylatul Qadr. Yeah, the strongest position is it's one of the odd nights in the last 10 days, and some say it's a specific night. What's that night? 27th. Some scholars say, it's any night in Ramadan. Even some scholars, Imam Abu Hanifa was of this position, that Laylatul Qadr can even be in any time of the year. You say, well, what's special about Ramadan? The way I explain this is my own interpretation, is because if you think about the solar calendar, Laylatul Qadr can be any time of the year, because Ramadan moves, doesn't it? So Laylatul Qadr can be any time of the year at some point. Does that make sense? Okay. And so the idea, the whole thing about this, what's the point? The point is, in Ramadan, just don't take it for granted that it's this time. Think it could be any night of Ramadan, so make sure you're making du'as about things that are important to you in your life, that you'd like to change, circumstances you've got, or things that are important to you into the future you'd like affirmed. It's time to make du'a for those things. And a special time to make that du'a is just before breaking the fast. I remember when I was fasting Ramadan in Medina, I was blessed to do that. People were reading Quran, people were speaking. When they're sitting and they've got the mats out, the plastic sheets out, they've got all the food, and one guy stood up and says, no one should, stop reading Quran, stop doing dhikr, stop speaking, this is a time for dua. So those last, 10 minutes just before, this is a time when prayers are accepted, and so it's about that. And then at night as well. So spend some portion of the night when you're really, even making a list in Ramadan about things that are really important to you, and really just having that sense of belief that things could change your circumstances, or things can happen that you really want, because this is a time when things are going to be enacted. Okay, that's the whole point of Laylatul Qadr. But yes, the strongest position is that it's the last 10. And that's why, what do a number of people do in the last 10 days of Ramadan? They do i'tikaf to take full advantage, because that is the last 10 is when you really give it some, because it's leaving us. You're conscious that this is the last 10 days of Ramadan. Let's really put some effort in, because it's leaving us, because Ramadan's like a guest and it's with you, and you want to make sure that when it leaves you, you haven't got regrets. And we always have regrets, we could have done more. But what's important in Ramadan is a lot of people beat themselves up in Ramadan. They say, I didn't take a full advantage. Log how much better you did this year than the last year. At least progress, what you're achieving. So have that focus. Last year I did this, I did that. This year I'm going to try to do a little bit more. And that's what I do with the kids. In the madrasa when I used to teach them, I say, how much Quran did you read last year? Oh, I read 2 Spara, 2 Juz. I say, okay, try to do at least 3 this year. So set them a target. You set yourself a target to do something just a little bit more than you did last year, just to push yourself. Okay.